Writer Collier Young began his Hollywood career as an assistant to Harry Cohn, the big boss at Columbia Pictures. But his real ambition was to be a writer and producer. Right around the time Act of Violence was being made, he began a professional and personal relationship with the most talented woman in the movie business, Ida Lupino. As business partners, as well as husband and wife, they formed a production company called The Filmmakers. The first time, believe it or not, that term had been used in Hollywood. Young had developed Act of Violence for producer Mark Hellinger, the man behind such huge hits as The Killers and Naked City. Hellinger had intended to cast Gregory Peck and Humphrey Bogart as Enley and Parkson. But when the producer died suddenly, Young sold the story to MGM production chief Dory Sherry, and he and Lupino funneled the profits into the budget of their first independent feature, 1949's Not Wanted, about a young girl's out-of-wedlock pregnancy. He and Lupino would go on to write or produce several noir films in the 1950s, such as Beware My Lovely, The Hitchhiker, and Private Hell 36. Now, I have a question here from viewer Shannon Brower, who wants to know if Joe Parkson's limp was written into the script, or was this a bit of business Robert Ryan gave the character on his own? Well, Shannon, there are multiple copies of both the story and the script in the archives at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and in every one of them, all the way back to the initial 6-page treatment written by Collier Young as an inter-office memo to producer Jerry Wald, Joe Parkson is described as having a pronounced limp, a visual symbol for the psychic scars he drags around with him. Now, another question comes from the very curious Erin Balboa. Erin sent in a lot of questions, and she wants to know, among other things, which city was the most common backdrop for film noir? Well, the fact I'm answering this question after showing Act of Violence should be a tip-off. It's Los Angeles, especially once film crews started leaving the studios to shoot more often in real locations. Even when the setting isn't clearly stated as LA, in films like The Prowler or The Killing, it's clearly LA. The runners-up would be New York and San Francisco. And Erin, if anybody ever asks you, what's the difference between a film noir shot in New York and one shot in Los Angeles, just tell them, in all seriousness, that in New York, the camera moves like this, and in LA, the camera moves like this. We try to keep things simple here in Noir Alley. And if you have a question about noir in general or about a specific film, follow us at Noir Alley on Facebook or Twitter and ask away. Until next week, see you in the shadows.